Hey guys, Joe Bolby here, and welcome back to Let's Build a Steampunk City, Episode 7. So last week we constructed our airship docks, which you can see right there in the background. And so for pretty much, we're almost done with the city. There's a couple of areas left open which I want to have as the residential districts. But these two pink rectangles are going to be apartment buildings. I want to have a large residential area because, a lot of people live in the city. But I feel like putting a lot of houses there will look a little too repetitive, and since we're going with a steampunk theme, I think we can get away with building some apartment towers, and that also solves our problem of not having enough towers, in my opinion, in the city. As for how these apartments are going to look, they're not going to be modern looking, but I'm going for a classical vibe, Victorian era sort of stuff, so it can match that steampunk theme we're trying to reproduce. In order to get this theme going, I decided I'm going to carve in these columns and then have them topped off with an arch design. And then I decided, you know what, these columns, 5 wide, 2 wide, not going to be able to fit enough of these columns in. So I decided to come back and make them only 3 wide so we can fit a little bit more in and not have it so cramped up. Another reason I like the whole apartment theme idea as opposed to just making houses is, as you notice, this is a sort of island canal sort of Venice looking city, so there's a limited amount of space the city has to build on. So when overpopulation hits the city, there's not enough room to build new single family homes, so instead they decided to build apartment buildings where lots of citizens can go ahead and live there without taking up as much room as a single family house would. The building itself is broken into 3 separate tiers. The bottom tier and the second tier, which are going to look pretty much the same, except the second tier is going to be slightly smaller. And then the top tier is going to be the penthouse apartments where the wealthy individuals will go ahead and live and where they can get the best view of the city. Looking at this side of the building, you can see each of these column effects that I put in have either a window or a patio. Ideally, a single apartment will have 1 window and 1 patio per an apartment, building, room? Whatever they're called, units, apartment unit, there you go. So, the individual can either look out the window, or if it's a nice enough day, they can go on the patio and enjoy the nice weather. So as we approach the top part of the first tier, I had to think of a way to cap off this part of the tier while making it somewhat functional, and I thought, if a person wants to go on the patio and it's raining, they're going to get wet. But if I add these mini roof effects, it'll keep them dry, and, it helps identify that this is the end of the first tier and the next part's the second tier. And I'm just coming down to the very first floor, adding some large scale windows because maybe the apartment building leases out some space to a restaurant or a shop, so that's what would be on the first floor, not actual apartment rooms. Now we're moving on to the second tier. The second tier is going to be pretty much the same compared to the first tier. It's going to have that same column effect on either side, but the center column, because it's a little bit smaller, the sizes don't match up properly, it's going to have to be one massive column. Now talking about our whole steampunk city as a whole, we are rapidly approaching the end of the series. This is currently episode 7, and the way I have it mapped out in my head right now, there should be 11 episodes total. So we're going to have to still build the giant spire in the center. We're going to have one of the episodes would be just finishing up the residential district, adding all the different houses in. Then we got to build the docks and the governor's house. So if I did my math right, that's 4. So 11 episodes total. And looking back, Let's Build a Desert City was actually 11 episodes as well. So we're right on track. Moving on to the side of our apartment building. If you weren't able to notice it right away, this is a rectangle. The first side we did is a lot wider than the side we're doing right now, because most apartment buildings aren't perfectly square because everybody wants a window, but it's just a big perfect square. There's going to be some dude stuck in the center with no window in the apartment, and that's just depressing. And since we don't want our citizens to be depressed, we're going to stick with a nice rectangle theme. So I'm copying and pasting the other column effects from the other side of the apartment onto this side, and then building out from there, designing, fleshing out this side so it looks whole. So the little design I'm doing here is I carved in, added some stairs to break up the pure straight column that was going on, and then I filled in the backdrop with stone slabs. Around this point that I realized there was no lighting on this side of the building, or a lot of the sides of the building, so I went and added some torches, some glowstone, and off camera added to the rest of the building. And now we're on the final tier of our apartment building, the penthouse suites. Now we're gonna make a big taboo here and not go with our traditional steep peaking roof. We're going for an opposite. We're going for a more horizontal steeping roof. Now with a horizontal peaked roof like this, it's gonna look pretty different from all the other buildings in our steampunk city so far. So to help sort of negate that feeling, what I'm going to do is the corner adornments we put on the airship docks, I'm going to put it on all four corners of this apartment building to sort of tie the build in with the rest of the city. As you can notice, there's only two windows, one window and one porch on this side of the build, and on the other side of the build it's the same thing. So there's only 2 penthouse apartments in each apartment building. Now we're moving all the way back down to the first floor of the apartment building and onto the side of it. There was no window on this part, so I just quickly added a really long window, you know, for a restaurant or a shop, and then just sort of detailed the corner parts up with a little indentation with the stone slabs behind. And with that, we have finished our apartment buildings for our steampunk city. This was definitely a much needed addition to help diversify the residential district instead of having it all be houses. And it does look pretty cool, especially with our whole towering cityscape theme. If you liked the video, drop a like. Come on, what are you waiting for? Just do it. If you want to see more, subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week where we'll probably be tackling the docks. Bye then.